Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Brief, the show where me and Q&A catch up every 2 weeks to talk about Bitcoin, privacy, open source, keeping your Bitcoin secure, and the news and software updates that matter. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been supporting Ungovernable Misfits, and a big thank you to Foundation Devices for supporting the show. If you haven't already checked them out, go to foundation.xyz. They make cypherpunk tools for fuckwits, and anyone can use this, even me. If you have any questions or you want to reach out, feel free and I'll be happy to go through things with you. For anything super technical, I'll pass you on to Q. If you want to buy one of these incredible passports, use the code Ungovernable. It will get you a discount and it will let them know that I'm shilling. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to the Cake Wallet team. Not only are they supporting this show, but they're also bringing out some incredible features. For those of you who actually use Bitcoin and actually care about their privacy and security, Cake Wallet make it incredibly simple for you to live outside of the traditional financial system. You can use Cake Pay within the app to buy gift cards for food, petrol, and whatever else you might need day to day. You can use silent payments, and of course, you can use Monero. You can connect both Bitcoin and Monero nodes, use coin control, and this team are constantly innovating, and I'm really excited to be working with them. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, but check them out at cakewallet.com. Download the APK or start using this today on Mac, Windows, Linux, iPhone, or of course your Android device. Enjoy the show. Good morning.
Hello, sir. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Very well. Well, actually, it's my morning and it's your afternoon.
I was going to actually say good afternoon, yeah, but I didn't want to give away too much information. But yeah, you've been on your travels.
Yeah, I've finally left the shithole they call the UK. I'm gone.
And then there was one.
I'm going to chip away at you, mate. I'm going to get you to leave that fucking place. They don't deserve you. They really don't.
Are you settling in okay?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Good.
It's a big change, but I'm happy to be leaving. It's weird, actually, because my missus has said a couple of times now where, like, we've been out and about and, like, with the kids and stuff, and I've just been chatting to people. And she's like, you would never do that in the UK. I was like, what? She's like, you would never speak to a person in the UK. Like, you would never open up or have any sort of conversations. And then I, like, thought about it, and I was like, yeah. Towards the end of being in the UK, every time that the letterbox went, or I saw a brown envelope, or anytime anyone asked me anything personal, I felt like I was in proper Big Brother 1984, being watched, being hunted, and I started getting all paranoid and just not enjoying life. Mm-hmm. And immediately once I've left, there's like nothing's fucking perfect. There's problems, there's different stuff, whatever, but I've immediately gone, I don't feel hunted, which is a nice feeling.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great to hear. So do you think that most of the change, is that a change in you and that you feel happier where you are now? Or is it more of what you just said, like the actual location of just being in the UK and all the joys that brings with it?
Yeah, it was being in the UK and the joys that come along with it, and government interfering with fucking everything, and the tax man just constantly raping you. It just felt not good once I've left that behind and not feeling hunted and not kind of feeling a bit like a prisoner there. Like, it was just not a good feeling. So yeah, it's immediately just made me like, okay, this is not like an oppressive, shitty situation like it was before. So it's good. And I'm sat on a balcony recording this as well, so you probably hear some birds tweeting. It's very nice.
Yeah, I did notice those in the background. That does add a nice little aura to the backdrop.
Yeah, I thought it might. Obviously, I miss a few people like you and Coffee and Gun and others who are in the UK. Outside of that, we're all good.
Once you get a bit more settled, we'll have to organise a lads trip out there or something.
Oh, that would be good. That would be really good. I'll take you skiing.
Nice. Okay, I look forward to it.
What's going on in the UK then, mate? Anything exciting?
I wouldn't say anything exciting, no. No, there's nothing major to kind of write home about at the moment. Me personally, you may or may not have seen. I know you've had some patchy internet connectivity lately, so you may have not have seen, but so did I. That's the story. Is my internet's been giving me massive headaches. It was really weird. Like last Thursday, my phone and my wife's phone wouldn't do anything. It was like it was showing it was connected to the local network, the Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
But it came up with a little exclamation mark and just said no internet connectivity. So that's strange. And at the exact same time, like other things were working. Like my Linux machine was fine. I could load any website, watch YouTube, whatever. It was all perfect, no internet problems. The TV was working. That was on the Wi-Fi. And then randomly across the day, different devices would just drop out where they just wouldn't load anything that required the internet. Then the phone would kick back into life and that would be fine. So it was really like sporadic where random devices were just dropping off they weren't even dropping off the network. They were still connected, but they wouldn't do anything. I've said this many times before, but networking is my boogeyman. I just fucking despise anything to do with routers, internet, and all that sort of stuff because I don't know. I've just never taken the time to fully understand how it all works. Like I can get by with the basics. So I phoned my ISP thinking that it was a problem with the router that was randomly like blocking certain devices, and they did some troubleshooting over the phone. And to be honest, the guy that I spoke to was even more clueless than I was.
Yeah, classic.
So we ended up with, fuck it, we'll just send you a new router. In fairness to them, that turned up the next day, plugged it in, exact same problem. So phoned them up again. Basically, the response I got from those guys was, well, we've done a speed test on your house and everything's working fine. So, you're on your own. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm paying for a service here, but it's not working on all my devices. Like, what the fuck am I paying you for? But I can kind of see their viewpoint where I'd openly told them, look, some of my machines are working and some of them aren't. The speed test is fine. I was getting, I can't remember, like 150, 200 gigs per second or whatever it was, the expected speed. And they were like, yeah, basically, well, we sent you a new router. It's not that. We know that you're getting a good connection to the house. So that's all we need to do. Goodbye. So I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And obviously I work remote. So like internet connectivity is a big thing for me. Like I need to be connected all the time to be able to work. So I asked the big brains on Twitter and Nostr, and basically I got loads of responses. So very thankful to anybody that did come back. And 99% of people were saying, oh yeah, it's a DNS problem. It's great if you know how to fuck around with that sort of stuff, but I don't. So by the time all of these responses come through and it was clear that there was, all of the people that knew about this sort of stuff were saying, yeah, definitely DNS. A few people sent me some steps to like change DNS servers and whatnot. But by the time they all come through, it was like Friday night and it was just wash my hands of it. I was like, do you know what? I'll spend, I'll give it some attention over the weekend. Woke up on Saturday morning, everything's been perfect since, and not a single device.
Weird.
Nothing has gone wrong since, and I'm touching wood here. Didn't change a single thing. Didn't do any DNS. Didn't change. Like the only thing that changed was the router, and after the new router was in, it was still fucking up for 24 hours, and then all weekend up until today, it's been absolutely flawless, and I have no idea what went wrong or what fixed it. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that it's working, but it's just frustrating that I don't know what it was and what.
I'm sure I've had a similar thing before, and then I think it was something to do with the VPN that I was using at the time. I can't remember what it was now, but
yeah, well, that was my first thought, but then I was like, well, some of the devices that aren't connecting just don't use a VPN. Like my wife's phone, like she doesn't use any of that sort of stuff. Right. And for it to be kicking my phone off, which does, my phone's a graphene phone that runs a VPN constantly, and her phone's an iPhone that doesn't run one. Like, it can't be the VPN side of things.
That doesn't make sense.
Neither does the TV, and I don't have one at the router level. So it was a frustrating 48 hours, and then now it works, and I have no idea how or why.
It's a mystery.
So if you lose me, that could be the reason.
Well, if you lose me, it could be a similar reason, because I've still got no broadband here. I've got a janky, weird setup that I've got because the people came out and were like they took my money, and then they were like, oh yeah, like we can't give you internet. I was like, well, you're fucking happy to take my money, weren't you? Yeah, you have to go through this process to like get that back, but basically like, no, we can't get through these trees, and we can't run it here, and this thing's overloaded and that thing's whatever, like bullshit. And I was just like, for fuck's sake. So I think I'm gonna have to get a Starlink.
It's probably all the snow where you are, mate.
It is, yeah, it interferes with things. It's a pain in the arse, but there we
yeah.
go. Trade-offs, isn't it? It's all trade-offs.
Told you not to move to the Arctic Circle. Quick bit of foundation news. The early access program for Passport Prime is now officially closed. Sold them all, which is awesome. So quick update or reminder that the early access program was your way to get hold of one of the first Passport Primes that roll off the production line. And we also gave you some benefits for being, one of the kind of early testers of a brand new device. So we're going to be giving you a free case, a free subscription to the Envoy Plus service, which has loads of kind of digital add-ons like storage on our server, etc., etc. And there's a few other add-ons that we're going to be announcing soon that are going to be rolled into that. And there was one other benefit, and it is eluding me now, but I'm going to have to fact check that. So let me just...
While you're fact-checking that, I would just mention that John and Mr. Crown and basically everyone other than me in Ungovernable Misfits has been working really hard this last few months, actually, introducing the new Meshconomy box, which is now online on Ungovernable Misfits. So anyone who hasn't already should go and check that out. We kept talking about people who are producing goods and services who are in the Bitcoin world and in the Meshtadel, saying like it's really difficult for anyone to actually market themselves and for people to actually make these sales and like make enough to continue doing what they're doing, which you see like these things pop up and then they go away, and it's a real shame. We decided, I don't know, it must have been like, I think it was around the time I actually left my full-time work. It was around then, me and John were talking about it for ages. We were like, oh, we should really do something. Like maybe we can use a bit of the reach for Ungovernable Misfits to like help make some of these sales for people, put like a box together and people can buy these things. And obviously it's taken a while, but we want to see these small producers survive, and we want people to be spending Bitcoin and actually using this thing. So we've got some people from the Meshtadel who have made candles, coffee, stickers. We've got more people joining as well. I don't know if Barn Jerky's... I don't think Barn Jerky's in there yet. We just shill him anyway. But we're just trying to make it possible for people to sell goods and services for Bitcoin, raise a bit of awareness, and it's all really nice quality stuff. Otis Bit My Coffee, we've talked about loads on all the pods, really. But John raves about it, and so does everyone else who drinks it. And then homemade candles, and obviously our Ungovernable Misfits stickers as well. So that's going to be the first box. It's $39.99.
So how does this work from a privacy perspective? I'm guessing that you guys are collating this somewhere and boxing up all of these together, and then if I was a customer, basically I'd just be sharing payment and shipping information with one person to be able to get access to all of those products.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is another cool side benefit.
Yeah, exactly. And it means they don't have to run their own stuff. Like you might have heard Barn bleating about BTC PayServer and Lightning problems and all this sort of stuff, and like trying to run a shop. Others experience the same. We're already running a shop, like we're already doing it. We already have the problems that come along with it. So it's not a massive lift for us to do it. So yeah, I just think it's really cool. We're going to keep adding things on there, but if you want to help support other people in the Bitcoin world and you want to actually use your Bitcoin and try these things out, then go and check it out.
Very cool. Yeah, so back to Passport Prime, the one I was forgetting, the additional bonus was an extended 2-year warranty as well. No quibbles, kind of, we understand that these are the first device off the line. There may be, issues. Obviously, we hope that there isn't, but there'll be a kind of no questions asked 2-year warranty if and when any of these initial devices do have any problems, of course.
Nice.
So yeah, that early access program is sold out. We've sold them all, and we're going to be shipping them ASAP. We'll be providing another shipping update in the coming weeks. But if you're listening to this and you're like, oh shit, I wanted to get one, like you can still purchase a Passport Prime. You can still put down a $49 reservation to join the queue to be one of the first to get one of the kind of next lot of devices after we ship those first 1,000 early access program. And those are estimated to ship in Q2 of this year. So not that far away. And also it's just a $49 completely refundable reservation. If you change your mind after you see the initial reviews or anything like that, then it's kind of a no risk kind of reservation there as well. And obviously, when we get closer to shipping that batch of Passport Primes, we'll obviously be contacting you for the remaining balance additional to the $49.
Is it possible? I know this is a massive ask from a Bitcoin company, but is it possible to make that payment using Bitcoin, or do I have to use like Strike or some sort of like fiat rail?
I sense this might be a loaded question.
The force is strong in this one.
Yes, absolutely. We take Bitcoin. We prefer it if you pay us in Bitcoin, but yeah, you can pay in fiat as well if you want to. But do you want to tell the listeners why you're asking that question?
Me and John shat on Dorsey quite heavily in our last episode. Recently, he's been going around saying, the Bitcoin network's going to die if it's not used and all this kind of stuff. So obviously I thought, right, I really like this guy. I'm going to go and order some hardware that he makes. I got my custodial Lightning wallet out and went to go and pay. And I realized that actually you can't. You can only pay in fiat, which I thought was really weird because it's very mixed messaging, isn't it?
It is somewhat, yes. Yeah, very strange. I just can't. I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, he has a payments company that integrates Bitcoin. He's given millions in funding to Bitcoin and Bitcoin adjacent technologies like Nostr and stuff like that. He's clearly bought in. He's along for the ride, so to speak. Why not just plug in a fucking BTC PayServer for these hardware wallets? It just makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense unless you get all conspiracy theorist on it, which I'm not going to bother doing. But yeah, it's weird. I just thought it was funny. I just thought I'd make light of that. It's very odd.
At least. Yeah, indeed. All right, should we hit the news, mate?
Yes, let's do it.
Starting off with a pretty big one. The US Justice Department ends crypto enforcement unit and regulation by prosecution. The Justice Department has directed federal prosecutors not to target virtual currency exchanges, mixing and tumbling services, and, quote, offline wallets for their end users' actions or unintentional regulatory violations. Wow. So this is pretty big news that they're basically saying, look, no, you can't do that anymore. And is nice to see a bit of common sense coming out of the new administration. So a bit of background, I guess, in the previous administration, under Biden, the DOJ basically was kind of running amok and trying to prosecute people for doing quote unquote unlawful things by way of kind of passing new regulations and laws after they prosecuted those people. And the new administration has basically said, look, you can't fucking do that. Like, that's probably against the law. So this is pretty big news, and it's kind of it is looking at a bit of a positive. Obviously, I say that somewhat tongue in cheek because, as we know, with any administration, these types of things can spin on a dime, from one day to the next. But for somebody that works in the industry and for somebody that's got a lot of friends that work in the industry, this is definitely it provides a bit more clarity as to, or gives a bit more confidence on those people that kind of are building in and around this type of industry.
Would that not mean that they'd have to throw out the Samourai case? Because
yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that was the next thing I was going to say. There's been a couple of third-party takes on this. You won't be surprised to hear that Lola Leeds from The Rage has got a great take on this, which will, of course, be linked into the show notes. The short answer is we don't know, but probably not. Peter van Valkenburg, apologies if I butchered that, Peter. He's got a good tweet about it. It says, we'll have to wait and see what happens to Tornado Cash and Samourai Wallet prosecutions. But the memo from the Deputy Attorney General yesterday is right on target. We should be going after bad guys, not the developers of good tools that bad guys happen to. Which couldn't hit the nail more on the head if I tried to say it myself.
Yeah.
To kind of bring us back down to earth a bit, just so we don't get too bullish on this type of change. Again, I'll reference the Lola Elite's take on this, basically, where she points out a couple of quotations in here where the DOJ is kind of intentionally vague in certain parts of it. So there's some wording around they will continue to hold accountable individuals who use digital assets in furtherance of other criminal conduct, such as fentanyl trafficking, terrorism cartels, organized crime, and human trafficking and smuggling. And she makes a good comment, like the open question appears to be, whom does the DOJ consider to be an individual who uses digital assets in furtherance of those types of things? Like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's again, it leaves it open to interpretation. So this is very much not a slam dunk, and is, I guess, open to interpretation. But it should definitely be seen as a step in the right direction. As a bit more clarity that you're less likely as a wallet developer now, as of today, to be targeted by some regulation that doesn't yet exist because the DOJ taken a dislike into something that you may have said or done.
Yeah, it's just like a narrative shift, isn't it, really? Like, at the very
absolutely.
least, it's not, we think you guys are the scum of the earth and we're coming after you with everything that we've got, and like, don't you dare try and have privacy and freedom, because we will not accept it. It's a bit more like, okay, we're slightly more on your side, at least. Like, we're not hunting you specifically.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago that every time we recorded, almost, because we're doing it monthly then, every time I was like, fuck, this is getting worse. Like, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Like, it was really starting to be like, oh my God, if they get another administration, like, we're pretty fucked here. And now it's like looking a lot brighter. So take the wins.
Definitely, yeah. It's nice to see one of the three-letter agencies having their wings clipped a little bit. It's just definitely seemed like under the Biden administration they were getting a little bit too big for their boots, and they were able to get away with it. And we've already seen the anti-chilling effect to this. One of the big headlines around when all of this kicked off, particularly with the Samourai case and with the Tornado Cash, like part of the chilling effect where developers were either stopping developing or pulling out of the US. One of the big headlines around that one was Phoenix Wallet, one of the most popular self-custody Lightning wallets, if not the most popular. They pulled out of the US because of all the shit that was going on. And that was just one, the tip of the iceberg for the chilling effect. They've already announced that they're coming back to the US off the back of this.
Okay.
Which is great news for those in the US that want to interact with Lightning but want to do so in a non-custodial way without having to do all that channel management. So, Phoenix, great job. So this is a win for Lightning users in the US. More US regulation news. Unfortunately, I hate talking about it, but it is a big part of the narrative at the moment. Old Orange Man has signed a resolution blocking the IRS reporting rule for DeFi brokers. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but more positive news coming out of the Trump administration. On the 27th December last year, the US Department of Treasury issued last-minute regulations establishing reporting requirements for, quote, trading front-end service providers involved in digital asset transactions. Right. These regulations were once again created under the Biden administration it's part of the Biden administration's Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and aim to crack down on cryptocurrency users who may have been failing to pay their taxes. The reporting requirements were set to take effect in 2026 and required, here's the kicker here, required non-custodial services to file a Form 1099 and follow the same reporting rules as security brokers and custodial digital asset trading platform operators, even though they differ from traditional businesses. So it was essentially, it was looking like non-custodial services would have to file tax reports on their users. Just like somebody like Coinbase would, or Kraken, would, something like that. So it was a shit show, essentially.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, I believe. Trump has signed the resolution that basically repeals this and says no, it's not going to happen. There's a quote here from Republican Mike Carey. Don't know who he is, but the DeFi broker rule needlessly hindered American innovation, infringed on the privacy of everyday Americans, and was set to overwhelm the IRS with an inflow of new filings that it doesn't have the infrastructure to handle during tax season. By repealing this misguided rule, President Trump and Congress have given the IRS an opportunity to return its focus to the duties and obligations it already owes American taxpayers, instead of creating a new series of bureaucratic hurdles. I thank President Trump for signing this important bill into law, and crypto Cesar Sachs for his leadership in supporting America's continued place as the global leader in the emerging crypto industry.
Can you imagine them trying to keep on top of like thousands of traders, like jumping in from like Dogecoin to Poo Coin to Yams, you like all this different shit, yielding and yamming and whatever else it is, and them trying to wrap their head around it? It would probably actually collapse them. Maybe it'd be a good thing.
Well, you say that, but most of those degens, like they're going to be doing that on a regulated exchange anyway, and they'll be
True.
subject to all these tax laws. Like the big win here is the fact, like people like us at Foundation who run a non-custodial wallet like Envoy or Phoenix wallet, where we don't collect and we do not want to ever collect user data and tie it to a wallet. This regulation would have said that we would be left with no choice but to do that, because we would be one of these DeFi front ends. And to be able to, operate in the US, we'd have to file a 1099 on all of our users. And that would negate that we need to know who all of our users are. And, naturally, we do not want to do that. So it's, this is a big positive, again, for somebody that works in the industry, particularly for those American companies. This means that they don't have to do all of this and, add surveillance on their users, and irrespective of all of the, the additional load onto the IRS that, we've just mentioned would have been a complete shit show.
Good. Well, this is all exciting news. I like it.
Yeah, kicking off with the positive. Long may it continue. The last couple of pieces of news I just wanted to point out. There's a couple of conferences over in the US in the last weekend, one of which was the MIT Bitcoin Expo. And there's a very interesting sit-down chat with Frank Corva from Bitcoin Magazine, and he sits down with, I think his name is Sjors Provoost, who is a core contributor and all-around just smart guy. They had a sit-down chat where they talk about the latest and greatest in terms of the prosecutions ongoing with Tornado Cash and Samourai wallet developers, and all of the implications on the industry. Basically, all the stuff that we've been talking about. But they, it's just a cool little fireside chat that is a good, can act as a good quick catch up and bring you up to speed and keep you abreast of what this could mean one way or the other for the industry. So I just wanted to shine a light on that, and obviously that will be linked in the show notes as well. And finally, the other conference, if you wanted to get your Turbo Nerd on, was Op Next, which I believe was in the US, maybe I think it was at Sailor's place. It was a technical conference called Op Next, where they're basically talking about the latest and greatest in Bitcoin scaling. There'll be 2 links in the show notes of the live stream. I think it's a full day live stream, essentially covering all of the talks, panels and guest speakers, about 8 hours each. So I don't know whether this counts towards the 40 podcast hours per week, but there's 16 hours catered for if you want to sit down and watch all of it.
We'll check in with Rod Palmer and Greaser.
Probably best to listen to it, because I've got the stream up right now and it looks like they filmed it on a potato. So it's definitely not high Q.
Any more news, or are we into the boosts?
Let's hit the boosts, mate.
Okay. First up, we've got Rod Palmer from Bugle News, hashtag 40 hours per week, with 50,000 sats. Get the fuck out of the UK. I assume he's saying that to you, mate, because I'm already gone.
Yeah, seems to be. I'm the only one left. Interestingly, I am getting the fuck out of the UK temporarily to go to Vegas for the big conference in a couple of weeks with the Foundation team. I don't know whether I'm allowed to publicly say this, so I'll need to check this with him before this goes live. But I'm pretty sure that it's public knowledge that him and the Bugle guys are putting on an event in Vegas. And
Okay.
they've graciously asked me to be part of a panel, I think, or a Q&A
Okay.
session, no pun
Wow.
intended. So I'm just checking diaries and stuff at the moment, so I haven't committed 100%, but I'm doing everything I can to make sure I get out there because,
What an honour.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was taken aback. So hopefully, all being well, we'll be meeting Mr. Palmer and the Bugle team. Late stage hodl with 10,000 sats. Keep up the good work, boys. Thank you very much, sir.
Chet with 10,021 sats. Busy, homie. Still listen on my 17-hour drives from Texas and what's KY?
Kentucky, maybe?
Kentucky. Texas and Kentucky.
17-hour
Thank you,
drive.
Chet. Yeah,
Jeez.
that's dirty. That is dirty.
How many? This is a tangent. On a 17-hour drive, how many times you reckon you'd have to stop for a piss?
I can tell you because I used to do 17-hour drives often. I would stop for because I would always have like those big 2-litre bottles in the door bins, and I would just smash through coffee and water. So I would say I'd probably stop for a piss on average once every hour and a half to 2 hours.
You didn't fancy just filling the bottle back up, that 2-litre bottle, when it was empty?
I did it occasionally, like if I was in central London driving around, there's like nowhere to stop and piss.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'd either, depending on what van I was in, I'd either go into the back of the van and like piss in there, so I wasn't doing it in like a residential area, or like piss in the front. But it would depend because obviously a lot of the time it was countryside, so it's just like pull into the side of the road, take a piss, jump back in. Got to stay hydrated, mate.
Indeed, you have.
Let us know, chat. How many times do you stop and piss on a 17-hour drive? We'd love to know.
All right, next up, we've got Otto, and he's responding to the chat we had about unlocking Dojo on Start 9. He's boosted with 10,010 sats, and he just said, thank you. It was great to be a part of it. Well, thank you for your contribution, sir.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you to everyone involved in that. It's a big step.
Definitely.
Anonymous with 6,666 sats. I've tried to use Nostr, but doesn't seem to be very intuitive. Is there a guide / primer out there on how to make it useful? You're anonymous, aren't you? You've got to be. Such a perfect plug.
I promise from the bottom of my heart, this is not me.
Okay, we believe you. Yeah, I think there is one. Q, have you heard of any out there?
Yes, anonymous. If you want the perfect Nostr onboarding tool and primer, head to hellonoster.xyz and you'll find a multitude of guides there, including how to use Primal as a simple onboarding client, and then more kind of slightly technical stuff around what Nostr is, the different type of facets of it, and how you can use it and why it's cool and useful. So yeah, check that one out. hellonoster.xyz. Panjo with 0.014 XMR. And he's responding to Bitcoin Breez 63, which I presume is the last one. I've kind of lost track of what number we're on.
Yeah.
He said, why the hate on Orbot, chaps? I run it alongside my VPN all the time. It doesn't need to be set as your VPN service to connect and forward traffic proxy to port 9050. Oh, well, I say that, and I think I said this when we were talking about it. It's been a long time since I've actually tried Orbot, and that's probably because I was scarred by how terrible it used to be.
Yeah.
What was the context that we were talking about it?
I think I was actually slagging off a sponsor, which is really good work. I think I was saying I really like to see in Cake that they have the Tor integration, so you don't have to run Orbot.
Possibly. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know, Panjo, that you can run it outside. It's like it doesn't have to take over the VPN thing. But with that said, like, if you're a Bitcoin wallet, just build in a Tor library and just do it natively.
Yeah, please. Aren't they stealing yours? Isn't that how it's working?
Who, Cake?
Yeah.
I believe it's not, well, yeah.
It is stealing. Listen, open source is not about being able to use each other's stuff, all right? That's theft.
Me
and cloning. Cake, you cloning cunts. Don't be so disgusting.
Do that to us.
I think they're using yours.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so coming soon. Yeah, and to be fair, actually, with the Orbot thing, I also haven't used it in years. I just remember using Orbot, and then what was it? What's is it Electrus? No, that's fuck. I can't remember now. I remember trying to use that, and like every time I was trying to do a transaction, it wasn't working, it wasn't connecting, and it was just dropping, and it was an absolute fucking nightmare. I think that kind of gave me PTSD. I was like, I'm never using this shit again. But maybe it's good now.
I used to use it with Blue Wallet a lot, and yeah, I had similar experiences.
Okay.
FOMO Chronic, 1001 sats, just sent us a love heart. Thank you. FOMO Chronic.
Oh, we love you too, mate. Baked Potato. I've got nothing smart to say. Here's some sats. Thank you.
Great name.
Yeah, really good.
Bubba with 1000 sats. The way y'all prattle on can be fun. I'm not saying it was this time, but keep on prattling.
Thanks, mate. We'll never stop prattling. Chad Farrow with 333 sats. Move everything to Nostr so you can own your own data, and by you, I mean 6 relays other people own. Oh, Chad Farrow.
Now, Chad, I know you're trying to trigger me here, but I know for a fact that you're smart enough to know that that's not the truth. So for the onlookers, I'm going to say that it's very easy to download all of your data at any time from any relay, or just run your own relay. I run one on my phone so that it backs up all of my notes and shit automatically. And I've also got one on my Start9 as well. But yes, okay. Chad, you are kind of correct, because most people right now are not going to do that. So they are kind of LARPing a little bit by just trusting a multitude of 6 to 20 different relays.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that comment, because I really like it when you get wound up about Nostr. I like it when you get wound up about Nostr, and I especially like it when Ben Gunn gets wound up about Nostr. Like, 2 absolute Nostr shills, and just it only takes a little nudge, and you're like, no, Nostr's fucking amazing, trust me. It's good fun. I like it.
I will sign off that. The reality is most people have like 20 relays, and the likelihood that most of them all sent to you at the same time is kind of 0.
That is fair.
But you did get under my skin a little bit there, Chad.
Well done. Pies with 420 sats. Let's fucking go! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. USA, USA, USA. Little American flag, laughing face. And then back again with another 420 sats. V for V, hashtag 40 hours per week. America equals gold. England equals shit. Didn't he say that he was going to stop that?
Yeah, I think. Well, no, wasn't he whining about us not talking about him enough? Maybe that's why.
Oh, maybe.
So he can get a mention.
Yeah, he gets a mention. But I agree with you, mate. You're not shitting on me anymore. So.
Oh, okay. Like that, is it?
Yeah. Once I'm gone, mate. That's it.
B has boosted with 400 sats. No message.
BTC on board. Hashtag LEnhance or CTV with 300 sats.
And then finally, and BTC on board's comment was Crux is amazing, because we were talking about that last time, weren't we? The kind of DIY signing device.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, thank you to Pojanmies with 13,600 sats streamed.
Ooh, thank you, mate.
Shadowy Super Badger with 1,620 sats, and Cars Pealand with 910 sats streamed. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Right. Updates and releases.
Let's do it.
Ooh, we're on to a big one. LN Bits version 1.
Wow.
Stable, hardened, and production ready.
That has been a while in the making, hasn't it?
This is similar to the way Samourai used to do it, wasn't it? Where like 0.99
V
B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
So LN Bits has been in public beta for what seems like the entire time that I've been in and around Bitcoin. Wonderful, wonderful projects. Great team behind them. You know, some of our good friends have been contributors and worked there and stuff. So yeah, great to see that they finally come out with, it's officially out of beta, and they have a version 1 product. After 5 years and over 6,000 commits, LN Bits has reached the momentous milestone. LN Bits version 1 is officially here. So congratulations to Ben Gunn and the team.
Ben Gunn?
Not Ben Gunn, sorry. Ben Ark.
Ben Gunn's done fuck all for them.
Additionally, and you'll love this one, it now offers WebSocket payments, support for Nostr Wallet Connect,
Oh, thank God.
the option for Nostr or OAuth login, and improved admin and developer tools, amongst much more.
Amazing.
Very cool. And of course, you can run this on all of the popular node software. So it's just a one-click install. BTC PayServer version 2.1.0 has now been released, including a new multi-sig experience, new fee acceleration tool. So they've improved RBF and CPFP, child pays for parents, for those of you that want to speed up your transactions that are stuck in a mempool. Although, having said that, it's pretty impossible to get your transactions stuck in a mempool at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
But it's been nice for me because I've had to make loads of transactions and I'm just like, this is lovely. This is really nice.
yeah. Literally, I was talking to Orange Surf the other day, and the only thing that's giving any sort of volume in the mempool at the moment is some degen shit that's unwinding.
Okay.
What did he say it was called? Let me just check my signal messages with him. It was Babylon unstaking continues to account for a significant proportion of all Bitcoin transactions, even hitting 50% on the 11th of April. I have no
Wow.
idea what Babylon unstaking is, but thank you to the degens for
Yeah, thanks, guys.
topping themselves.
Thanks for keeping us going.
Yeah, so back to BT Pay, new integrations with the new version of Shopify, also a new integration with Ghost, the popular kind of self-hosting blogging service. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It will empower content creators and publishers and stuff to accept Bitcoin donations natively. So there's like a native connection now with a BT Pay. Pretty cool. And they've also given Monero its own kind of plugin now, so that I believe you might know better than me here, but I believe it was a bit of a custom thing before to kind of have a little
Yeah.
bolt on to Monero and any other altcoins that you wanted on your BT Pay server.
They did a load of dev work off their own backs to make that happen. So me and Seth covered it a little bit in, I think it was
Nice.
maybe 2 episodes ago. But yeah, he was just saying a big thank you to them because obviously they didn't have to do that. The Monero community was trying to get funding together to make it possible.
Sweet. Nice.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say on this is click the link in the show notes for this release and look at the video that they did alongside the release. It's an AI generated one, but it's pretty good actually. It's like got Rockstar Dev, and when they're talking about multi-sig, they've like multiplied him, and there's like loads of him walking around with his mask and stuff. It's pretty funny. I tell you what, this AI stuff, like I've been sleeping on it, like the video generation stuff and the design stuff that you can do is getting pretty fucking wild.
Oh yeah, it's fucking amazing. I wish I had more time to play around with it.
Yeah, I saw a post this morning actually that was comparing. Do you remember one of the very first AI generated videos that came out was Will Smith eating spaghetti, and that was 2 years ago. And then they compared it with one you can generate today, and it like the one from today literally looks like it's Will Smith that somebody filmed it, with a high res camera. And
It's mad, isn't it?
The one from 2 years ago was like an absolute abomination.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like amazing and scary. It's getting to the point now where you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's I guess one of the downsides of the proliferation of this sort of stuff is fake shit just proliferates much more easily.
But maybe it can work the other way as well, because it's like, we have video evidence of you robbing this bank. You're like, that's not me, it's AI.
That is a very good point. Yeah.
We've got video evidence. Wow, you can't really use that because it kind of works both ways. Yeah.
Next on the list, we got Robosats version 0.7.6 alpha. And you're going to love this one, Max. Coordinator rating over Nostr.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. This update includes a beta version of coordinator rating via Nostr, new messages in the trade workflow to address common questions, and a requirement for submitting a contact method in dispute flows. So it seems as though the shift towards using Nostr as kind of a connectivity glue on Robosats continues. Mempool version 3.2.0 has been released. This one includes support for V3 transactions and the display of anchor outputs. We've got a new UTXO bubble chart. Users will find a new UTXO bubble chart on the address page, providing visual insights into unspent transaction outputs. That's pretty useful. We've also got datum miner tags to identify runestone messages and inscriptions. Package broadcast feature for sending transaction packages. Stratum job data visualizations for better understanding of mining job details. So this looks pretty similar to, do you remember us talking about Orange Surf's tool Grid, where he was clustering Antpool and friends, etc., or
Yeah.
like you can whoever you want together. So it looks similar to that, where you can see the pools that are using similar or identical mining templates as well. So that's a pretty cool tool to have on the dashboard. Additional labels for Taproot multisig stuff, transaction and PSBT preview feature. A new transaction and PSBT preview feature aids in verifying transaction details before completion. That's
Okay.
interesting. I'm going to have to test that one.
While we're on this, did you listen to my annoying voice messages the other day?
I listened to it once and then made a mental note to revisit it when I wasn't distracted, and I did not do.
Any thoughts on them, or have they just completely exited your mind?
Do you want to give me a quick recap?
Yeah, so the reason that triggered that in my mind was like verifying address details. I realized that the way that you can verify an address on the passport is really nice. We've talked about that a lot, like it's a really nice feature. But when I'm sending not to myself, when I'm sending somewhere else, obviously I go through and it says verify that you're sending to this address, and I scroll through and I'm like, yep, that's the right one. You've got it in like large lettering, smaller lettering, like it's easy to see, it's like easy to verify it. Yep, that is who I'm sending it to. And then it goes to the next thing. It says something about like, this is the fees that you're using, which is like fuck all at the moment. And then it says change address. And I was wondering, is there a way that where it says change address, there could be a little thing where it says like verified coming back to this passport, or like, I don't know how you would word it, but basically that there's no interference where the change address could potentially not actually be your change address.
I see. So to be clear, the device automatically checks that as part of every transaction.
I'm sure it does.
If it detects a change address that's not yours, it won't sign the transaction. So what your request here is just make that clearer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for like you know that, and like I kind of know that. I'm like, yeah, obviously like they're not idiots. They're going to fucking do things properly and it's going to come back to me. But it doesn't specifically say that. And so it's like, here's your change address. You're like, cool, that's a long string of letters and numbers. That means fuck all to me, unless I like go on to Sparrow and go and check and like look through it manually before, whatever. Like I could do that on that screen when I'm looking at it. It's like, oh, that's very nice. There's a load of letters and numbers, but it doesn't actually give me any confidence if I'm a new user, especially, that like I'm definitely getting that back, because that's a concern.
Yeah.
So I just thought like maybe it could just be worded like confirmed coming back to this master seed, or this is you own this address, or like I don't know how you worded it. I just thought that could be a nice little touch.
No, I agree. We could probably make that clearer to the user, and also tangential to that, we have an update pending on the Envoy side of things, where when you're going through that sign-in flow, you'll have like you've scanned Envoy, you're reviewing the transaction details on Passport. Envoy at that point is currently just showing an animated QR code.
Yes.
And it's waiting for you to hit the QR code scanner to then scan the signed transaction back from Passport to be able to broadcast it. The update that will be coming out later this year will allow you to switch on that screen without losing your kind of place in the flow, so that you can flick between here's the unsigned transaction in QR code format and another screen that shows you all of the transaction details, one of which would be the change address, so that you can do a visual comparison if you wanted to as well.
Yeah. That's nice.
So yes, makes sense. And yeah, noted. There was another one as well, wasn't there, while we're doing business on air?
Yeah, there was another one. So when I was on my travels escaping the UK, I was really concerned about traveling with the passport. So I wiped it and did encrypted backup, and then anyway, whatever. I don't have to go into the whole fucking thing, but I had to restore from an encrypted backup once I arrived. What was the flow? Oh, that was it. Yeah, so I kept one passport back in the UK just as like a disaster recovery backup thing in a secure location. I was like, I'll keep that until I know that I've got over here, and then when I next fly over, which is quite soon, then I wipe that one. When I was restoring on passport number 2 here, go through, it's like easy, put the micro SD card in. I was like, yep, lovely, restore from backup. Yep. Do you want to use your 6 words or do you want to use your 20-digit code? 20-digit code, bang, 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 put that in. All really good, all really simple. And then there was just one little thing where it's like, it says, we're now going to make, I can't remember exactly how it says it, but it's something like, we're now going to make an encrypted backup on this micro SD. Your code will change, your 20-digit code, because it's a different device now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to change my code, didn't want to do the backup. But the only thing it shows you on the screen is an arrow to go forward, like, you must do this, there's no other option. So like, I was like, fuck, I don't want to do this. Anyway, so in the end, I was like, well, I have to do it. So I press next. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what happens if I press back after I've pressed next. And once I pressed back, it said, are you sure you don't want to do an encrypted backup? We advise against this, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. It's like you can't see it unless you go forward and then choose to go back, which isn't really an option. And then it comes up.
Okay, I think I'm understanding you. Are you running the latest firmware version out of interest?
I believe so. I updated the day I left, so I would imagine so.
Okay. All right, interesting. So you as a user, what would you prefer there? To just be asked rather than guided or almost forced?
Yeah,
through?
I would rather than it like effectively being forced, but it's not actually, because there is a way around it, but it's not obvious, for it to say your code will change if you do a backup now because you're on a new device. We suggest you do a backup. Click yes for backup or no to not backup. And like there to be 2 options on that first screen. It's like minor and petty, and like it doesn't really matter because presumably you can do that backup on that micro SD card, and then your other ones will still be there, so you could still use them.
Yeah, it has no bearing on any existing backups that you've got at all. So the fact that you're effectively being forced to create a new one, like it doesn't overwrite the old one. It's completely additional. So even if you did it and then never ever used it, like it makes no difference whatsoever.
I assumed that, but just me being me, like ultra paranoid, I was like, I assume, but it was like, would have been like 2-3 o'clock in the morning your time. I was like, I'm not going to message Q now, but I need to do this. I don't want to overwrite it because that could be a problem. And then I thought, while I think of this as a user, I'll just let you know. So it was like, it could say, we suggest you do a backup. This will not override your previous backups or something like that. It's just a little bit of clarity just for retards who might think the same. And then it's like, double sure, and just puts people at ease because
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's cool. This is the type of user feedback that we love getting. So yeah, no, it makes perfect sense and should be a pretty trivial change. Just to cap off the Mempool updates, they've now added the address poisoning detection into this latest release. So I think we've already spoken about this. So just a quick reminder, it's basically a bit of an assistance against this poisoning detection, which is basically an attacker somehow generates an address that appears similar to one of your addresses and then tricks you into sending it to theirs. When you just do a cursory visual check of the address, you're like, oh yeah, first 6 and last 6 match my address, it's mine. When in reality, it's just a similar looking address, and bye BTC. When Mempool detects these and they see similar addresses, they've got like a big purple warning now that says it could be part of a poisoning attack.
Nice.
Okay, Bisq version 2.1.7 has been released. Highlights here, we have a split pane has been introduced to adjust the balance of sizes between the offer book and the chat or offer list. The Bisq Easy protocol has been improved to safeguard against triangular scams. With this enhancement, the buyer is now required to set the trade ID as the reason for payment when making the fiat transfer. The splash screen now shows displays for the loading process for each necessary step. That's cool, actually. It tells you like how you're getting on. Lots more additional bug fixes and improvements as well. Quite a long list. So won't go through it, but of course the link will be in the show notes. Next up on the list, a bit of a controversial one, and keen to hear your take on this one, Max. The Breez team have announced the launch of a new wallet called Misty Breez. Headlines here is basically the new wallet is a simplified version that looks very similar to the existing Breez wallet. But Misty Breez, the new one, leverages their kind of, I believe it's called Nodeless Breez SDK, which essentially allows you to interact with the Lightning Network without actually directly using the Lightning Network. The way in which they achieve this is via using the Liquid sidechain, and then anytime you receive or send, it's essentially under the hood is a submarine or atomic swap. Between the inbound Lightning payment, and then you receive Liquid Bitcoin into your wallet, and that's what you actually hold. And then vice versa, when you send, Liquid Bitcoin is removed from your wallet and it is put through a swap service to then, the swap service would then pay the Lightning invoice on your behalf. So you never actually hold actual BTC in this wallet. And this is where some controversy has come from, in the fact that it was Shinobi actually that did a post about this one, and he used the term self-custody, which seemed to trigger quite a lot of people basically by saying, it's a self-custody wallet, but you don't actually hold Bitcoin, you hold
Liquid
Bitcoin essentially. Aside from my thoughts on Liquid, which I'm sure we're going to get into in a minute, and the limitations around that, this, considering it's like a first release, it already supports Bolt 11, Bolt 12, LN URL Pay, Lightning addresses, BIP353 usernames. All of that is already baked in and ready to go, which, again, aside from all the trade-offs, is quite impressive considering it's a first release product. But hit me with your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I want to know, what are the fees? What's the cost for sending and receiving when they're doing the swaps and stuff under the hood in the background? Are they fairly low fees, or is it quite expensive to do it?
That is a good question. Given that not many people use Liquid, I'm going to say that the fees are pretty low. But obviously, it's not just the fees, is it? Okay. It's using Bolts, the Bolts.exchange submarine swap service. So I'm guessing that it will be equivalent, if not identical, to the fees that Bolts charge.
What's that, 0.5% or 1% or something?
Good question. I don't know off the top of my head. If you carry on giving me your thoughts, I can go ahead and...
Well, yeah, presuming it's no more expensive than a Bolt swap, and it does it all in the background, and it's simple and it works. I don't hate it. I'm not like a massive Liquid fan, but like, it's not bad. It gives you some level of privacy. You could send and receive Lightning without all the typical headaches. It's certainly better than Wallet of Satoshi, which fucking everyone on Twitter uses, and everyone making any video and shilling Bitcoin is using it. So I'd rather them use Liquid and swaps than that. If it's low fees and it works, it's kind of all right. Like, there's worse things out there.
Yeah, so I've just very quickly, and this is on the Bolts website, so it's not through the API that powers this, so there may be additional fees, I'm not sure, but let's assume that they just use the Bolts kind of rates. If I wanted to pay a 1 million sat Lightning invoice, I'd need to send them 1,001,000 sats on Liquid, so it's essentially 1,000 sats for that specific.
That's not terrible.
So it's 0.1% is the...
I kind of like it then. It's similar to what I was talking to Seth about ages ago. I was saying it would be really nice to have optionality in a Monero wallet where you can pay a Lightning invoice within a Monero wallet as you would with a Lightning wallet. And what it would do on the back end is you scan it, it initiates a swap from Monero to Lightning, and then it pays that Lightning invoice. Then you don't have to hold anything in like a custodial wallet like Wallet of Satoshi. You don't have to hold anything in like liquid, which is like custodial-ish sort of.
It is
You
custodial. Yeah, I think it's fine to say that. Like
okay?
you're not if you've got a liquid wallet, you're not holding Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's sort of like a weird one, isn't it? It's like people would
Distributed
argue.
trust.
Yeah, with this, it's like you'd actually definitely hold your own Monero. When you do the swap, you don't have any of the additional concerns that you'd have if it was Bitcoin swap, because obviously it doesn't have any of your it doesn't affect your privacy like you would with an on-chain transaction on Bitcoin. So you could make very private, very cheap transactions and use Lightning where you needed to without having to give up control of your funds and without having to have the headache of managing your own Lightning channels and all that kind of stuff. That would be a really nice option for like someone like me who actually uses both. Maybe it's not for everyone, but this liquid thing is kind of similar.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Like they've got confidential transactions and stuff as well. Again, I'm not equating the privacy from one to the other. That's
No.
way beyond than a paycheck. But yeah, it seems like a not bad trade off.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
With the kind of caveats that I'd want to educate people on the trade offs here. That a quorum of regulated companies could still fuck you over if they wanted to.
They could do, yeah, but it's definitely better than
Oh,
a custodial solution like Wallet of Satoshi. Like there's no comparison there.
I like the Breez guys. They just sit there quietly shipping cool shit. It's all open source. Their head honcho Roy has some great blog posts, very technical ones, but like he just always seems to have his finger on the pulse. And yeah, hats off.
Yeah,
to them.
agreed.
Not exactly my bag. For them to just go out and just build this shit and stay out of the drama is pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of your main critics of Nostr, Max, what is it?
It's gay. It's like, honestly, that is my main criticism is that people get all like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and like, oh, Nostr, you're fixing the world, man. And it's just like the way that it's talked about winds me up a little bit, and it makes me want to shit on it, and it makes me not want to like it, because it's just, you're sort of like vegans. Like you go around like, oh my god, like I don't use other social media, I'm like totally all Nostr, man. Fucking annoying, telling everyone constantly like, no one asked you, mate, I don't care. So it just makes me want to shit on you a little bit and like eat a steak in front of you. Technically I've not really got any understanding. Like,
what was the main one that when we were at Ben Gunn's place, you were mentioning that you thought that key management was a big problem?
Oh yeah, that is a problem, or was a problem, because now you're going to tell me, because it says Frostr, like that's going to be a Nostr thing, something to do with freezing, it's going to be something to do with cold storage, which is going to solve this problem. No?
Nope. Well, it does solve the problem. It's not cold storage though.
Okay, all right.
So
it was key rotation kind of issue was my concern, is that you're putting your key into all these different apps and it's technically then not cold, and then if your data or like your Nostr account becomes very valuable in the future, like if you have millions of followers, and either it's valuable to you financially or it could be a disaster for users and followers, because there could be some sort of attack on them. If someone gets hold of that information, it's very, very costly. That was why I was saying I don't want to spend huge amounts of time and effort putting my energy into understanding and using this thing and building a following and everything else when that could potentially happen. To me, it's like when people are like, oh my god, it's just like Bitcoin. It's like, no, it's not. But you're going to tell me there's something going to maybe solve that.
Yes, your prayers have been answered, and I completely co-sign everything you just said, by the way. Like, it was a gaping hole. If your NSEC gets into the wrong hands, like, bye reputation, you've got to start from scratch. Like there's nothing quite like a good old password reset or a centralized service, albeit with all of their faults, to be able to let you back in. But clearly that comes with significant trade-offs. Well, somebody's fixed it.
Okay.
Frostr, if you head to Frostr, that's frostr.org, they've basically come up with a way to chop up or shard your Nostr private key, your NSEC, into a kind of offline multi-sig, off-chain multi-sig, basically,
Okay.
where you can have an existing NSEC and then put it into a tool and it chops it up into, and again, just like multi-sig, you can configure this. So it could be a 2 of 3, it could be a 3 of 5, blah, 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 all of the usual stuff that you would expect.
Yeah.
You have different shares, and then you can configure it to say, okay, well, when I do anything on Nostr, when I post a blog post, when I do a shit post, when I post an image, if I like something, it needs 2 of my shares to sign off on that
Okay.
for anything to happen. Now, my first knee-jerk reaction was, well, if I'm just tweeting or sending a note on Nostr or liking your post, I don't want to have to deal with 2 devices. Like, that's just a shit UX. The idea here is that these shares are already compatible with all of the different Nostr signers, or are easily compatible with all of the different Nostr signers that already exist.
Okay.
So you could have one running on your Start9. You could have obviously one on your phone. You could have another by a third-party service. The world's your oyster, so where you can have all this stuff running, such that if it was a 2 of 3, I would press like on my phone, and then it automatically talks to my Start9 at home, again, over the Nostr ecosystem, the Nostr network, say, to get that second quote-unquote signature to then post the like.
Okay.
So you can have a seamless implementation of this, but hedge the risk such that in that scenario, again, if somebody steals my phone out of my hand, there's only one share on there. They can't steal my Nostr private key. And I still have the remaining 2 shares that are required for me to then go and do a key rotation to create a new key set under the existing NSEC. So I don't have to change my account at all. This is what I meant earlier, where I'm talking about like it's kind of off chain. I know there's no chain, but it's the best way I can think to describe it, where if somebody gets their hands on one of my 3 shares, they can't do shit. All I do is grab the other 2 shares, cancel out that set of 3, start with a new 3 from the existing NSEC, and then I start again. I haven't lost access to my account. I don't have to burn my account and start again. The person that stole my phone, all they've gained is my phone. They haven't stolen my Nostr account. Like, the problem has been fixed. We just need to wait for some cool tools around this to be able to make it a bit more user friendly.
Okay, that's definitely less gay. You're less vegan at this point.
It was absolutely needed, and hopefully if we get some cool tools around this, mobile-based ones, browser extensions, it added to all of the existing shit like Amber and Albi and all that sort of stuff. Once we get it into there and it's the norm, like the threats of, pasting your NSEC here, there, and everywhere, it becomes nullified. And the cool part is that if you've already put a lot of work into Nostr, you don't have to start again to leverage this and start from scratch. You new protocol. You just take your existing key and you chop it up.
Very nice. I like that.
Yeah, very cool. I was happy to hear this one. Talking of Start9s and all that sort of jazz, the Fedimint Guardian UI is coming to Start9. Now, again, Max and I have been quite vocal on our thoughts around Fedimint and Ecash-based systems and their limitations. One of which, and the main criticism that still remains, is kind of who will take the risk and run the mints. Now, we've seen some news at the top of the show that might make this a bit more palatable for people, and they may feel that they're less likely to be thrown in a cage for doing this sort of stuff, potentially. But yeah, the criticism was, well, who's going to run this shit? Well, this has got a little bit easier now by the fact that it's coming soon to a Start9 near you, which means that literally anybody can become part of or one of, a Fedimint Guardian, which does lower the barrier to entry. Doesn't change the risks that come with it that I've just mentioned, but in terms of the physical barrier to, setting this up and having the tools to do so, it's getting easier.
If it comes to Start9, you'd be running one on your own hardware and everything's over Tor there. I run a Start9, you run one, Jordan runs one. Most people in Ungovernable Misfits run them, actually. If all of us set a mint up together with one of these things, we could have our own little Fedimint Ungovernable Misfits thing. You
Correct.
Put funds in there, have the privacy benefits, and then we'd all have to rug each other or like collude to rug bull.
That's right.
Yeah, so I don't hate that. I have a lot of problems with how it's been previously and like that big question of like, who will take that risk. That's kind of cool. That could be useful in those type of situations where there's already a level of trust between a group, and then you get some benefits from it.
Yeah, I think that's the one use case where I have always kind of reneged and said, look, yeah, maybe this makes sense, and that is in existing trust or semi-trusted relationships like the ones you just mentioned. So I think, that doesn't change here. It just gets easier to kind of implement. So yeah, again, cool to see that this sort of stuff is getting easier to kind of get off the ground, I guess. But
Yeah.
the thing I always get is like, does that actually move the needle in terms of like, I don't know, like to push back on your analogy, like, okay, we've gotten the ungovernable crew. What would we need to run a mint for that we can't do with existing infrastructure? Like, what benefits do we get? What benefits do the users get?
If we did it, we set it up, we all deposited some funds in there, not mental funds, but like some funds. You can use it with any, what's the word? You can use the mints in and out of Lightning, can't you, basically? So like,
yeah.
that's the word I was looking for. So if we all said, right, we're going to chuck a couple of £100 in there each, and then we can use that to interact with Lightning and make payments, it would be quite nice because it adds another layer of privacy coming in and out of Lightning. It's better than a custodial wallet, obviously. And there's already a level of trust there. Like, we share passwords and keys and all sorts of things all the time. I'm going to be much more worried about like the website going down than I am about a couple of £100. If it was simple to set up and you get the privacy and you can use Lightning, I don't know. Yeah, you could do it with other tools, but it's kind of useful, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to trying it out just to see, how quickly you can spin one of these up and what it looks like from a user perspective as well. We'll have to do one ourselves and just mess around with it.
Yeah, and also like try and like see how much privacy you gain. Like, what can you do? Is it part of a bigger setup where there's loads of tools that we currently use to try and gain some privacy? Is it just one of those jumps and hops and things that we use that's a useful tool that's not that hard to set up, that just sort of integrates with everything else? It's not going to be a standalone like, oh my god, Bitcoin's fixed. But it's like, that's kind of useful.
Do you think we could, I'm just thinking out loud here, like we could use it as like, let's say we set one up with, all of us are ungovernable and we only gave ourselves access to it. So none of the listeners or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we could use it as like a privacy tool where we have a bit of a risk where only the other 5 of us would have to collude to rug me, for example. But I could use it as I'm loath to use this term, but it will paint the picture I'm wanting to paint, kind of like a coin join replacement sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like we're all paying from a singular pool.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking.
But then I'm like, okay, well, I've already got my own Lightning nodes. If I pay somebody from my own Lightning node, they can't see where it's come from. Like, so am I actually gaining much there? Or am I just adding custodial risk from you other fuckers rugging me?
They're not some circumstances where your payment, like, it's much more private when you're sending from Lightning, but it's not perfectly private. Are there not some circumstances where if there's enough Lightning nodes on the network that are colluding and trying to track that payment, that they could then trace it back?
I mean, in theory, possibly, but we're getting kind of neat.
Yeah, we like, but what I'm saying is, like, it is possible, and also for incoming payments, there are some issues. So if you had, so maybe like if you had the mint, you could have funds coming into it and then coming out of it, and it's just one more hop from, like, you could send it from the mint to yourself.
You could use the mint as a proxy for your own Lightning node, couldn't you? Like a VPN sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to receive, I don't know, let's say a larger amount on Lightning, and it was from somebody on the internet that, I don't know, let's say it was a consulting client of mine, and I didn't want them to know where my Lightning node, the details of that, I could have them send it to the mint that we run as a collective at Ungovernable, and then send if I didn't want to leave my funds in there for you lot and your grubby little mitts, I could send it then back to my own node and just minimize that kind of rug risk from you fuckers.
Yeah, you just actively manage it. That's like, right, I'm comfortable leaving these fucking degens with the possibility to rug me for 200 quid, but I'm not comfortable with more. And then you just manage it that if you have incoming payments, you just then send them straight onto your, to something that you fully control yourself, and the cost of that's going to be practically zero. I think there are some. We have to have a play around with it, but I don't think we should sort of overlook that could be useful.
Just one final devil's advocate here, just to remain level. Like, there are already things implemented or soon to be implemented in Lightning that would kind of fix the problem that I just said without me needing to give up custodial risk, like trampoline routing, blinded paths, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I always try to, like, there seems to be a use case. Whenever I kind of think of a cool use case, I then think of a tool that already exists that would allow me to do that anyway. I guess it comes back to like ease of use though, right? Because I'm a turbo nerd that doesn't mind poking around, but if somebody can just open up a trusted Ecash wallet from them and 3 of their friends, well, that's the latter is much easier for them, isn't it, in that situation?
Yeah. And a final one. It's been a while since I messed around with anything to do with Ecash, but isn't there some benefit in terms of key management? Like if one person of the 5 lost access, that they could regain access?
I believe that is correct, yes.
That again could be, especially for like people who are a bit newer, if you've got 3, 4, 5 like family members who trust each other enough, but then they also have to be semi-technical to some, or like have their foot in the door to some degree, because if they're running their own hardware, like you're not going to go and run your own hardware when you're like brand new. So I don't know, it's like you say, that there are other things that you can do, but I think there are potentially some benefits there.
Yeah. Speaking of Ecash and Fedimints and all this sort of stuff, on April Fool's Day, Evan from Zeus alluded to the fact that he was adding an Ecash solution into Zeus. Now, in all of my interactions or things that I've kind of looked into or seen him post online, he's always been a bit of an Ecash bear like myself and like yourself. So I thought, especially the fact that he posted it on April 1st, that this was an April Fool's joke. Turns out it's not. Zeus are going to be adding the ability to have an Ecash wallet within the UI as like a separate wallet. I believe they're not going to be running any mints for obvious reasons, but they're going to be able to allow you to kind of presumably connect to one or many different mints and then kind of use Zeus as the front end for that, in the same way that you would connect it to any one of your different Lightning nodes as well. So it seems like a bit of an about turn. Maybe I've just completely misunderstood his stance on it, but I've definitely seen all the tweets where he's talked about all of the stuff that we always talk about when we mention Ecash. So since then, he has posted a bit of a quick video teaser, and I actually will take my hat off to the way it looks like it's going to be implemented. And they seem to have set like a threshold. It looks like it could be 100,000 sats.
Okay.
Where the closer you get to that target, the more red this account kind of visual becomes, as if to say risky, like hot, be careful, that sort of connotation. And there's also a big custodial wallet banner over the top of it as well. So, he's clearly, I don't want to say cave to the pressure. Probably a better way to say it would be listen to the market. There's clearly an appetite for this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's going to be adding that into Zeus. But I kind of like the way it looks like they're going to be approaching this with adequate warnings. And he's also mentioned as well in a response to Seth that they're looking into some automation options, which I presume looks like, you could configure it to say, when I get to X amount in my custodial Ecash wallet, send the transaction to my Lightning node or to my on-chain wallet, and that would be an automated thing, hopefully. But it's early days at the moment, and he did say, in fairness, he's wary about that solution because they don't want users to be charged anything without explicitly agreeing to it. But I guess if it's the user that configures that kind of threshold, then that seems like an acceptable trade-off to me. But we shall see.
Sounds fair. Yeah.
All right, last one on the list. Very quick mention: Electrum, the desktop wallet. Remember that exists, Max? I forgot about it. They've jumped on the Nostr bandwagon as well. So they're going to be using Nostr to replace previously centralized services. For example, the submarine swap service will be decentralized, allowing any user to become a liquidity provider. So that's for the Lightning portion of their wallet. And also the PSBT co-signing plugin that they had has also been rewritten to use Nostr instead of a centralized server. And finally, they are also going to be adding in Nostr Wallet Connect as well, so that you can use things like Alby and have it talk directly to your Electrum Lightning wallet. That wraps up the updates and releases. Finally, we just have a couple of questions that came in from two guys on Nostr. So, ready to hit those?
Do you have any bad experiences with laptops by Star Labs Systems? Did you send this as well?
I promise it wasn't me. No, this is from a name called Observer on Nostr.
Yes, I've had quite bad experience with them. I ordered one. The time that it said that it was going to take for delivery was nowhere close to actually how long it did take. It took months and months and months and months and months. And I think I had to pay up front anyway. So I just had like money sat there. I was just waiting for this thing to arrive. When it did arrive, it was quite good, other than the trackpad was like, I would use it and then like the mouse would shoot off all over the place and start doing its own thing, which was really annoying. And I never actually found a way to fix that. The only thing I could do was like plug in an external mouse. That was quite annoying. I ended up just using it as a server and just like fucking it off because I just got so sick of trying to use it. Outside of those two things, I thought it like looked nice. The build quality seemed to be pretty decent. Like it looked higher end and felt higher end than most other laptops that you could run Linux on. So I don't know, mixed feelings. What about you, Q?
Yeah, so before I get into my experience, I know our good friend Katan has also had one of these, and his experience wasn't great either. I believe something quite drastic failed on it. I believe maybe the hard drive or the motherboard or something, and he had quite a difficult time getting that replaced. In fact, I don't know whether he ever got the part fully replaced or whether he had to pay something for it, but I remember him complaining about it. Myself personally, mine's been faultless. It's been very good. I've had mine for, well, we all bought them at the same time, didn't we, Max? I want to say,
Yeah.
Is it 3 years at least?
Yeah, probably about that.
If not longer. I use mine every single day. It's literally my daily driver. It's what I'm using to record this podcast. I do all my foundation work on it. I use it for video editing. I use it for shit posting on Nostr. It quite literally is my daily driver. I use it kind of in desktop mode where it's plugged into a widescreen in my office. So
Yeah.
Max mentioned about the trackpad, and I admit it's not great. It's kind of like, it's almost like a glass one, isn't it? And it doesn't feel, if you've got any kind of grease on your fingers or anything like that, it just doesn't feel that great. But like I say, that's not an issue for me because it's literally closed and mounted under my desk, and I've got a mouse keyboard. Otherwise, performance has been great. I run Pop OS on it and have done since the day I bought it. So I've got no complaints, and I don't want to say I'd buy another one because, you know, of your experience and with Catan's experience, but for the money, I feel like I've had a pretty good deal. So my experience is pretty good.
They've got a new one, which is like, is it called the Starfighter or something like that, which is like 17-inch laptop, and it's got like a removable webcam that you have to actually slide in so that like that can disconnect. I think it disconnects the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth when you do that or something like that. It's like got some interesting features that look quite nice. I was like semi tempted to think like, could I try again? But I've decided against it.
Yeah, they've got quite a few models out now since we bought ours. They've got the Starlight, which is like the little like notebook type one. They've got the Starbook, which is like the default option that we've both got. Starbook Ultra, of which I've not seen before. I presume that's the bigger one, is it?
Maybe.
Yeah, 4K screen and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've also got a tablet now as well, Max. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm not sure how great it would be, though, to be honest. Observer also asked, do you advise against certain manufacturers of laptops? I'm probably not that well positioned, really, because ever since my turbo nerd years started, I've only ever really ran either a MacBook Air or this machine. So I don't really have any other experiences that I can kind of talk about. And the final question they said was, any recommendations based on own experience or from friends and family regarding a Linux laptop with a focus on privacy and repairability, battery, etc.? The only other one I would suggest, well, yeah, that's a good one, is the Lenovo ThinkPads. You can pick those up used for very little money these days. Obviously, they are older machines. They look their age, and so if you're looking for something that's going to get you some kudos in a coffee shop, that's probably not the right machine. If it's something that you just want a bit of a workhorse to install Linux on, and it's going to hide in your office and use it as a desktop or something, then that could be a really good option, because you can get a lot of machine for your money. The only other one I was going to mention,
Framework.
Yeah, because you mentioned repairability and stuff, is Framework. Their website is literally frame.work. They are pioneers in kind of repairable modular laptops. They are Linux first, I believe, and are fairly reasonably priced. They do different sizes, shapes, colors, and stuff, and you can kind of customize, because it's so modular. You can customize each machine to be very much suited to you, with the ports, the keyboard style, the trackpad style. The world is literally your oyster with a Framework in terms of how customized you want it to be. So that's another good option.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say good things about Framework laptops. I've used a few different laptops over the years, and I know like people get annoyed with it, but I still think that a MacBook is just the best laptop in terms of the build quality, like how long they've lasted for me, the trackpad, the quality of everything, quality of the build, how long does the battery last, do things just work? Like, I've personally just found that as the best option, but running Linux on one, no, not really.
Yep, and then to round out the show, we've got two tongue-in-cheek questions. The first one comes from Bitter21 on Nostr, and this is off the back of me sending out a gloating note yesterday morning mentioning that I got 11 and a half hours sleep, which is completely unheard.
You fucking cunt.
Yeah, well, that was the gist of the question from Bitter21. He said, how the fuck did you do this, essentially? And the clue is the kid was at the grandparents, so we didn't get woken up at stupid.
Oh, nice. That sounds amazing.
It was glorious, mate. Absolutely glorious. And quite the contrast, because the night before I got like 4 hours. And then the last one comes from our good friend, Mr. Ben Gunn. And this is a question only he could conjure up.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't seen this, because I haven't actually put it on the show notes.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm going to pose it to you. If it's a nipple, milk comes out. That got me to middle age. But you can have grease nipples, and the grease goes into them, not out. My question is, what really are nipples, and why do they lie? I sat there eating my breakfast this morning when he...
And why do they lie?
Yeah. Left me lost for words, that one. I'm not sure we can even answer that, but I thought give the listeners a giggle for us to read it out.
I genuinely think if you hadn't have told me who that was from, I could have worked it out.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's that weird.
Yeah. Right, that rounds us up, mate. It's a great way to finish. Thanks for that, Ben. Hope you're well.
Yeah, thanks, mate.